What's up, YouTube? Welcome to the latest episode of The Layup.Line. If you're new to the channel, subscribe for more NBA content like this. My name is Dolos, and today I want to preview a few all-time NBA rankings. As you can probably tell, this video was inspired by the fact that LeBron James will likely pass Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for the most all-time regular season points this year. LeBron needs over 1,300 points scored to surpass Kareem, and considering that James only has one season with a point total below that number, and that was a year where he played just 45 games, so if healthy, he realistically could be breaking a record that many thought would never be broken. But this video isn't just about that one record. I wanted to pour over the all-time leaders list for several categories to let you know how close or far your favorite active players are from other significant milestones. Staying on the points per game thread, Kevin Durant, another all-time scoring great, could be making his way into the top 10 in all-time points with a healthy season for the Nets. Durant is over 1,800 points away from being able to pass Moses Malone. Due to health, however, Durant hasn't had that many total points in a year since Golden State and OKC. Assuming relative health, I would still project Durant to go from 21st into the 10 to 13 range, passing greats like Vince Carter, Kevin Garnett, and Tim Duncan. Looking back through Durant's career, there has been some time missed, which makes it even more insane that he could be managing to pass Hall of Famers with 20-year careers in just 14 active seasons. Speaking of active, if Carmelo Anthony gets signed to a roster, he would be a little over 300 points shy of passing Shaquille O'Neal to move into 8th all-time in points. That's a fairly low bar for a scorer as prolific as Melo has been, even late into his career, which is why I am rooting for Melo to get picked up. Wilt Chamberlain's spot at 7, however, is probably out of reach as of now, and breaking into that 30,000 total points club is just difficult to get done. KD is nearly 6,000 points short of Wilt, so there's no guarantee that even he can break into this range. Looking at these active numbers really puts into perspective how untouchable the 30,000 points club has been. Take Luka Doncic, for example, who has been pretty much an all-star, all-NBA level player since his first and second year. A perennial 20-point scorer with nothing less than 60 games played every one of his 4 active seasons. His nearly 7,000 career points would still require him to keep a similar scoring pace for over a decade if he wants to break into the top 7 all-time alongside another legendary Maverick. This game has always been about a bucket. And because of that, the NBA has given us a deep, diverse, and historic cast of scorers over the decades. 75 years of scoring has made it extremely difficult for your favorite active players to climb this list. Of the top 100 on the all-time list, only 9 players are signed to rosters right now. And you gotta get past Bob Cousy and his nearly 17K points for a seat at this top 100 table. The active player who is the closest to doing that is Kyle Lowry, who is 1,800 points off, and given where his scoring has trended, I would bet against him accomplishing that. Last fun fact about the scorers list, Rudy Gay is 40 points away from making his way past Steve Nash and into the top 90 all time. Moral of the story, people forget that Rudy Gay was a bucket. And I have got that tweet in the drafts waiting to congratulate Rudy Gay on his historic milestone when he achieves it early this season. Moving on to the assist category to talk about some all-time setup men, the pass before the score can often go underappreciated. Number 1 on this list is also unimaginable to see anyone break it in the future. John Stockton is almost 4,000 assists ahead of the number 2 Jason Kidd and almost 5,000 away from the only active player in the top 5, Chris Paul. and seeing as Paul is already in year 18 with 5,000 dimes to go, I'm not even predicting him to pass Kidd. So Paul is firmly at third. This list might be just as hard to climb, with the top 10 looking particularly untouchable. Trae Young as another example of a young all-star passing guru. Trae has had 4 seasons where he has averaged a minimum of 8 assists per game while playing at least 60 games, and he is still 2 to 3 seasons from being even in the top 100 of this stat. Russell Westbrook is the only active player with a chance at the top 10, likely being able to knock out Gary Payton before the end of the year. LeBron James will also be passing another Laker great on an all-time list after he ended last season breathing down Magic Johnson's neck, less than 100 assists shy of 6th all-time. In fact, LeBron likely ends the year not only being the all-time scoring leader, but high probability that he's comfortably 4th all-time in assists. It's my theory that Chris Paul is refusing to retire solely to protect his 3rd spot on this list from the threat of LeBron actually being in the league long enough to play with both of his sons. Similarly to the scoring, many all-time passers have built up quite the roadblock for your favorite young player to make their mark on this list. Grant Hill guards the top 100 with 4,252 total assists, and we have 13 active players inside the top 100, with Kevin Durant possibly making his way in as well by the end of the year. Looking over at what the list of active assist leaders looks like, Nikola Jokic, Trae Young, and Luka Doncic seem to be the next wave of players headed into this exclusive group of passers. But just as I was expecting the assist leaderboard to be very guard heavy, I'm expecting the big men to dominate all-time rebounds. In fact, only 3 point guards appear in the top 100 for rebounds. Leave a comment with your guess of who those players are, and I'm going to reveal them in a second. Amongst active players, only 9 have the chance to increase their rank within the top 100, with Rudy Gobert about 150 rebounds short of joining the club. If LaMarcus Aldridge or Dwight Howard find their way on rosters playing bench roles, they could possibly even climb higher. Dwight is just 36 rebounds away from Kevin Garnett and claiming the 9th spot all time for this stat. But there's a special glass cleaner who might actually be the best active player at pulling down rebounds. Andre Drummond in his decade career has climbed all the way to 46th all time in rebounds. Drummond has already suggested that he thinks he will go down as the best rebounder of all time if he isn't there already. And he's got some stats to back up his claims. For starters, he holds the all-time record for rebounding percentage at nearly 25%. Drummond's all-time number for boards could be higher if he was able to maintain the role that he held while he was in Detroit. But since bouncing around to a few different teams, he's been sat for games and embraced more of a bench role. Even off of the bench though, he provided a stunning 9 rebounds a game for the Sixers last season in less than 20 minutes. He will once again be playing off the bench for the Chicago Bulls this season, but I would still bet on him to climb 5 to 6 spots higher on this list. Also, seeing as LeBron is the only player with 10K plus points, assists, and rebounds, a quick segment here on him too. He has climbed to 38th all-time in rebounds, meaning 6 to 8 rebounds over 20 years will do that for you, but Paul Gasol and Elgin Baylor are 2 Laker legends that Bron won't get past on an all-time list this year. You would assume that he declines in the stat at some point, but the top 25 is a reasonable final landing spot if he really has a few more seasons in him. As for the 3-point guards who have entered the top 100, unsurprisingly Russell Westbrook, Jason Kidd, and Oscar Robertson, all known for racking up triple-doubles, grabbed enough boards to get them in this rarefied air. While Jason Kidd has built up quite the separation from the other two, Russell Westbrook will soon pass Oscar Robertson on another all-time statistical category this year. My final rebounding fact is that Kawhi Leonard, also known as the board man gets paid, needs just over 3,500 rebounds to cash in as a top 100 board man. Rapid firing through a few other categories, we know that Stephen Curry recently surpassed Ray Allen for all-time three-pointers made, but how far is the next generation of this three-point dominant league from matching that 3,000 made threes? There's obviously not a lot of current young talent that's high up on the all-time list, but a few relatively young names stood out. For starters, I should point out that Klay's years missed due to injury and likely load managing in the rest of his career makes what was probably guaranteed for him more of a long shot. A conservative estimate gives it about 5 years for him to hit 3,000, and similarly, injuries have likely cost Paul George a shot at this accomplishment. With still over 1,100 made threes to go, he'd need to play at a similar level into his late 30s. Older than you think, Hield has managed to climb to 50th all-time in made threes in just 6 seasons, so a 14 to 16 year career for him, and the shooter could possibly get up there. D'Angelo Russell also stood out as the youngest name on this list at 26 years old, already having over 1,000 made threes. That would still require over a decade of shooting at this level to get near Steph. Lastly, to keep to this LeBron bit, he's definitely going to make his way into the top 10 all-time in threes made this season. They say defense is dead, but there are 16 active players or recently retired players within the top 100. More than any other stat I have covered so far, but that's definitely because the NBA didn't track blocks into the 70s. There are guys like Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain that we would expect to probably have some untouchable records in this department, but at least the NBA figured this glaring issue out in time to record Hakeem Olajuwon's untouchable record of 3,800 blocks. If Dwight Howard's career is really over, this will mean the closest active player will be Serge Ibaka, who is over 2,000 blocks away from Hakeem. And to wrap this video up, I'm going to tie things back to scoring because, like I said, this game is about a bucket. You would expect the top 10 players in free throws made to likely also be very high up there in the all-time points scored, which is true, but there are 4 players in the top 10 all-time made free throws list that are not top 10 all-time in points. Oscar Robertson, who scored 7,694 of his 26,710 career points at the line. There's Jerry West, who scored 7,160 of his career 25,192 career points. There's also James Harden, who scored 7,044 of his career 23,477 points. And finally, there is Paul Pierce, who scored 6,918 of his 26,397 career points. And if you thought I wasn't ending this on a LeBron James free throw fact, well, you're wrong, because you shouldn't expect him to surpass any Laker legends in this category in the 2023 season, but I'm betting he ends up his career at the 3rd spot after passing Kobe Bryant in made free throws within 2 to 3 years. But that's all I have for you in this one. I am thinking I will make this a yearly thing at the start and at the end of every season, just a good way to recognize some historical figures and to highlight the progress of the current players as they are making their mark on NBA history. If you're still watching, do me a favor and like and subscribe to the channel. That helps me create more videos like this, and you can also find me on a few social media platforms for inside looks at upcoming videos and reactions to live news and games. Thank you again for watching, and most important, enjoy the rest of your day.